Now we need to start the next session. Dr. Inas will be chairing the next sessions. The next sessions is the practitioner session 8 is the last session. And also its most important track, it is effective tool and strategies for innovation, creativity, entrepreneurship program and center. Because without implementing the strategy of innovations in the institutions or in the organization, I think the last end, we cannot get the outcomes. Then the most important thing to use the strategies and using the tools inside the organization. Go ahead, Dr. Inas, and we will honoring to have you in this conference. Dr. Inas, it's helping us in doing a lot of evaluations for the inventors, because as you know, there are an international prize at the end of the conference, selecting the best inventors, presenting and the best presentations and the best company participate, and also the social media influencers during the 3 days of the conference. Go ahead, Dr. Inas, and we are honored to have you today.
Thank you, Dr. Hanadi. So first of all, it's a pleasure and an honor being in this international conference. Thank you, Dr. Hanadi and Mubaraki for the invitation. I would like to welcome everybody and thank all our valuable speakers for agreeing to be part of this big conference. My name is Ines Zidi, and I am a senior professor and researcher, and also a consultant in innovation and technology transfer in Tunisia. So today, our session is about effective tools and strategies for innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship programs and centers. We will go over different topics with our participants. So we will have tonight, for the first presentation, Mr. Owen Flavin from Ireland. Hi. The next speaker will be me. Okay. So after we will have Mr. Mohammed Al-Jafiri from Qatar, and we will finish by the presentation of Katarina Hedbeck from Sweden. Unfortunately, Mr. Kazik Anhalt from Poland has sent his apologies. He cannot be with us because he is sick. So we have enough times. Each participant will have 10-12 minutes each, and after that we are going to have a round table session at the end of the presentation, and we will ask some questions to our speakers. So we will, without further, so let me introduce our first speaker. So our first speaker is Mr. Owen Flavin from Ireland. Hello. Mr. Owen is a lifelong innovator and a trusted business advisor and an expert of management system and international. Mr. Owen is a lifelong innovator and standards. He's a builder of successful new businesses and teams and also systems. He has a great experience as an author, editor, national expert in ISO standards. So he is also the co-founder and the head of innovation practice in Stepstone company. So the floor is yours, Mr. Owen. You have 12 minutes or more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Inez and Dr. Hanadi. It is fantastic to be here. It's great to see you all this evening. Hopefully you can now see my slides. That will make the 10 minutes easier. It is a short talk. It is a simple talk. What we're talking about is, what do you do if you need to innovate? And you need to innovate successfully. You need impact. And then you want to do it systematically. Sounds easy? Sounds simple? Let's see. I've been doing this for 30 years. Systems, as Inez said in the introduction, and me go hand in hand. It's easy to put me in a box. I'm a systems thinker. What I'd like to do, of course, is to talk about some of my friends here on the slide, our myths and legends, some of my heroes, how I approach this, and some red herrings. You know, you might see a couple of those on this slide. Okay, if we talk about myths first, I'll come back to that for the next slide and move quickly along to heroes. My personal innovation hero is Charles Darwin, because his theory of evolution is very similar to innovation. And if you wish to learn innovation, you could do worse than simply learning innovation or learning evolution, what it is, how it works, why it works, how to learn it, how to be better at it, how to find things that survive and thrive. And if you simplify further, innovation is just another field, another area, another domain where we can use the scientific method. And if we don't use the scientific method, we're not going to innovate successfully, and we certainly can't be systematic. Another point that Inez raised in her introduction is that I do have a background in standards, which you might choose to forgive me for. In particular, I've helped to write the ISO 56000 family of standards. 56000, 56002, the main ones that are out already. And I'm working as one of the 3 leaders on the 56007 project. And I'm also working on the new 56001 project. A lot of numbers, we don't need to know those today, but they're useful to know to find those things, to find those standards, because they're easy to find. And believe it or not, they're a whole lot easier to use than a lot of management theory textbooks. Okay, the myths I mentioned. Well, the first myth that I'd really like to focus on is when people talk about innovation being chaotic. It's anything but. And you have to be very humble to innovate, because you know that you're working on things and a lot of them might not get through, they might not succeed. But you can't treat it as chaotic. You actually have to be really disciplined. So the premise for this evening is, for an organization of any scale to succeed, you have to marry your senses to some common sense. Even when it comes to the picture we're looking at here, the horses aren't stampeding, they're not panicking, they're having fun, they're being playful, they're learning, which I bet came up as a theme many times today in terms of best practice and current knowledge for innovation. We have to be playful. Why? That's how we learn. We have to be playful. Why? Because we can't be too scared about failure. We have to acknowledge that we try 10 things to find one that'll work. And what do we mean by succeeding? Well, we need outcomes. We need innovations that are done, that are deployed, that are scaled up, that only then start to aggregate to produce really useful outcomes and impacts. And that impact can be your mission if you're a public servant, growth if you're an SME or a startup, performance if you're an established organization with a lot of metrics, and of course, what your stakeholders need, whatever that might be. So the challenge for us then is, for innovators, if we're working in an organization, well, how do we do this? How do we put in a system? Isn't a system scary? Well, I would tell you very simply, no. Systems don't bite. What bites is a lack of leadership. What bites is not knowing the context you're working in. What bites is not having a good alignment between the ideas that you're working on and what your leaders really want to happen, or what your stakeholders really need for you to focus on. So how do you do this? Where do you start? Helps to have a clear challenge, of course. And you definitely need to integrate what cultural aspects within the organization you need to develop, what cultural aspects around you in the ecosystem you need to develop. What are the capabilities you need to marry with your culture and your chosen priorities, your strategic goals and objectives? How do you plan your innovations, your sprints, your campaigns, your experiments, your ideations? Okay. Well, a cliche, but something I think is useful for us this evening is crawl, walk, run. First, let's get really simple, or at least something that looks simple. Tea is very important. Making tea is simple. But how simple is it really? Us Irish, if you didn't know, are very serious about our tea. We drink more of it per head than almost anybody in the world. I'm not sure if there are any Turkish people here today, but allegedly, according to Wikipedia, Turkey is #1. But Ireland is #2 and proud of it. If you're making tea for me, I should be so lucky, it has to be very strong. I would be looking for mice to trot across the top of the cup before I would say, that's my cup of tea. So then we come to the question, well, how do you do that? How do you make it right? That's simple. You need good, really hot water. How hot? 100 degrees. You need a nice cup. You need the right tea leaves. You need a nice place to have your cup of tea, ambiance. So if you're going to do that more than once, you need to be in control of that. You need to have a process. You need to have a recipe. You need to have your resources. You need to have your plan. In other words, you need a system. And I think we can look at abusing the often quoted Einstein here in that he is quoted as saying, make everything as simple as possible, but no simpler, because then it doesn't work. Okay. Now, tea is simple, even for me, fussy Irishman, but innovation is not. Playing with innovation is easy. Starting is easy. Almost anybody can innovate, but can you do it well? Can your organization do it well? And can you do it repeatedly? That is a whole lot tougher. And that's where the issues that'll bite you, the blockers come in, the lack of leadership or lack of involvement of the leadership. Strategy mismatch. We'd like to do this, but our ideas are like that. Staff want to do this, our customers want to do that, our management wants to do this, our citizens want us to do something else. We need that very clearly aligned. Then if we think, what would a good system look like? If we need a system to make a cup of tea, we need a better system to make sure we can innovate successfully, consistently, reliably. What would that look like? Okay, well, if I say to you, it needs to be capable of and proven to perform. That's after the fact, things you can measure once you've done it. But if we look at one of those ISOs that we referenced earlier, and here's my tea and coffee stain copy that's always out on my desk. By the way, the standard is only 24 pages long. It is really a simple thing to use. There should be no barrier to that. So the 8 principles, you should be designing your management system, your innovation management system to realize value. It needs future-focused leaders. The management system has to have clear strategic direction. These are the 8 principles from the very start of the management system standard, ISO 56002. You need to have a culture that matches your strategy. You need to be constantly looking and then exploiting insights under the skin of the data. What does that mean? How might we work with that? We always need to be managing uncertainty, not risk. And one of the myths that I mentioned earlier is that innovating adds risk. It does not. It should not. And if it does, you're doing it wrong. But you do need to acknowledge uncertainty and manage that very carefully. Your system needs to be adaptable. And of course, it needs to have a systematic approach. If you're doing all those things, you can manage innovation successfully for an organization. If you're doing those things, you have started to build a system. If we look at it from a different perspective, think about the things we need to do in this system. Think about the processes that we need to execute. We need to identify challenges and opportunities. We need to create the concepts that could end up being a workable innovation. We need to test and select, or umbrella term, validate, which initiatives, which campaigns, which ideas, which concepts, which solution version or versions might work. Then we need to develop the ideas or the concepts, and then we need to deploy them Of course, we don't have an innovation until we've already deployed them. It's another one of the myths, is that people talk about the creativity and think that's fantastic, and it's priceless. But you don't have an innovation when you're being creative. You have an innovation when the creativity has led to a concept that has been validated, developed, and brought into use so that it's achieving outcomes, achieving impacts for us, the people who do it, and for our stakeholders, our customers, our users, our citizens, our bosses, whoever else counts in our little world. One other thing with the processes, absolutely crucial, is experimenting. Back to that scientific method I mentioned earlier. If you're not experimenting, you have very little hope of achieving success or producing a useful, productive, successful system. This next slide is an extract from, not the final document, but the work we're doing at committee level to develop the new standard ISO 56007. Probably will be published in the middle of next year. It's at the final draft stage now. So we talked earlier about 5 processes. Well, these bubbles, each one is one of those processes. And the bullet points are the activities you need to be doing in your innovation management system. And they need to build and they need to aggregate, and they cannot be linear. It's not that you're identifying things now and a year later you'll be doing concept creation. These things constantly interrelate. It's the way they should work. This is a nonlinear, circular, and iterative approach. We need learning cycles. Now, this slide came from an organization in Sweden, Amplify, and the leader of that organization works with the Swedish Innovation Institute. And he produced the image on the left. And the Irish innovation agencies, the Enterprise Ireland and IDA, adopted Amplify's approach, which is based on 56,000. That is the basis for their incentives for SMEs and startups and for foreign direct investment companies coming in. If they wish to get state support, they need to show that they are implementing a system. They're being systematic about their innovation. And that means they have to consider the context the organization works in. They have to develop the right leadership and involve the leadership in innovation. They have to align the innovation initiatives with the strategy set out by the leaders. And you need a plan for all of your innovation activities. And then in the middle, you have those same 5 processes, the hexagons that we had in the previous slide. But it goes from left, intent, to right, value or impact. And you've got all the supporting skills and capabilities and culture and governance that you need to make sure that keeps running, and to make sure that you're capable of learning as an organization, as an individual, so that we're always getting better at innovation. So we crawl, we walk, we run, we fail, 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 succeed. And that pattern is what sustains us. If we think about that system again from another perspective and ask, well, how would I start doing that? Well, this is one simple way, 10 steps, if you like, left to right, top row, then bottom row, that can help you get an innovation management system up and running. But it's not linear, it's iterative. And you don't try and get everything right at the start. You play, you learn, you mess around, but you have short learning cycles and you'll get better quickly. Okay? And you can reduce that 10-stage to a 4-stage or to a 1-step process. The 1-step process is simple. Just do it. Find somewhere to start. But while you're doing it, have access to something like ISO 56002, because it's really simple, 24 pages, and it has the headings you need to do, you need to use to create a good system. What's the context our organization works in? How are we managing our leadership? How are we engaging them in innovation? How do we plan? How do we resource? How do we operate our 5 processes? How do we evaluate whether it's working, and how do we improve? At that level, it shouldn't be scary. At that level, almost any organization can do this with 0 resources or huge resources. Funnily enough, the organizations that have huge resources have huge trouble focusing on doing innovating well. Organizations that are constrained because they have no money have no choice but to focus well on innovation. And as we hear from a lot of the tales of disruption out there, It's the no choice, no reason organization that often wins out when there is big change, when there is big disruption. So this should not scare people who work in countries that are seen as not having resources, organizations that are not seen as having resources. The tools are out there to help us. Final perspective. Where do we look? Well, simple. Look for easy to use guidance, easy to use tools. We use the common or garden stuff that's available on the internet, and we treat ISO as an ally, www.iso.org. And those are the documents that I referred to today: 56,000, 56,002, 56,007, 56,001. That is the end for tonight. Thank you very much. I hope you see that innovation management systems aren't scary. You now have a picture of how you might go about achieving a good IMS. You have some picture of how to start it and where to look. So I suggest you all go strut your stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ewan. Nice presentation. We need to handle innovation within a systemic approach and a holistic approach. And as you say, linear approach does not work. And we need standards. We need standards for that to decrease the risks and to succeed the innovation of management. We will jump into questions. I look to here. If you are there, no question from attendance. So I will ask a question. So do you think that the standards are suitable also for countries? Are there enough good practices to upgrade from failing innovation management systems? I know that standards are applicable for companies, but do you think that these standards could give also good practices for countries to change their habits?
Yes, I think innovations happen one at a time. I think it's easier to create an innovation system within an organization. Some organizations are so huge, they're as big as a country. So the innovation management system standard can be used by an organization at any school, any scale, and that includes countries, and includes the United Nations and OECD and countries like Ireland, which is very small, and countries like the USA. Now, I don't know if we have any American guests here today, but the USA is not leading an uptake of these standards yet. Places like Sweden and Singapore and New Zealand, they are the places that are leading in this field at this moment in time. So if you're asking me for where should the participants today look to your own national investment agencies, look to the investment organizations of other organizations and other countries that are like yours, and Ireland will look to Sweden and Singapore as examples, and your countries will look to others that are more similar. But some people find talking to Irish people a little bit easier than talking to some other countries. So come and talk to us all the time. And you can see from the slides that Ireland's investment agencies took 56,002 lock, stock and barrel and used that as the platform for how they help their startups with no resources to innovate, to grow, to export, to thrive.
Okay, thank you. Maybe another question from the speaker.
No, excuse me, Dr. Inas, would you mind please to let all the presenters talking, and in the round table we can discuss together.
Okay.
There are Mr. Mohammed, it's also from nearby, from Qatar, and he wants to sleep, I think so. Okay, then let the people presenting, and we will be open floor for any discussion after that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next presentation, if you want, Mr. Mohammed, to give the presentation. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. بس راح أقدمك. Okay, Mr. Mohammed Al-Jafiri, CEO from Sidra Bank. Okay, an inventor, author, and also a business trainer, entrepreneur, mashallah. So he will talk about cryptocurrency and a new vision for the Islamic banks. The floor is yours.
Yes, so thank you very much for having me here, and I would like actually to spare some of my time to Mr. Iwan again. First of all, thanks for the great presentation. I want to share my screen over here. I want to show you something. So actually, these are some of my books. I've written them. I have published in my past 15 years a lot of books. So this book over here, it's called Innovation Management for Countries and Corporates. So I want to show you something. So this book, I published it on March 22nd, and it's in Arabic. So what is in this book? Actually, it contains a lot of things about innovation management, and I've focused on this book in the last chapter, how to design and how to put and how to apply the system in different organizations using the ISO 56000. And thanks a lot for your efforts in this area. I am one of your students, and I've been following a lot what you've been doing past years. This is such amazing document because I believe that ISO has in a way, especially in our region, potentially stopped innovation by implementing a lot of standards in the organizations. So when these new standards come out, and when they are applied in such organization, they open and they unlock the potential of innovation in these organizations. So cheers for this great job. And by the way, in Qatar, yeah, first of all, let me also invite you again to Qatar, because Qatar now is hosting the FIFA. So in Qatar, last week, the government published this document for all the ministries. I'm sorry, it's upside down because it's meant to be for Twitter, and I tweeted this. So they added innovation in every ministry. So this is in Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This hierarchy model here is in Ministry of Finance, and they again added innovation. Also in Ministry of Education, they added in the hierarchy the innovation department, and they always break out the rules because they follow, they report directly to the minister. So we succeeded doing that by implementing these ISO standards in the country. So keep doing what you are doing. Good job, and I want to show you what your efforts have changed in Qatar. So yes, so maybe I will go back to my presentation, and let me go a bit about Sidra Bank. So what is Sidra Bank? Sidra Bank is a concept of creating a global bank for people who are unbanked, and we have 3 problems actually globally. Problem number 1, all Islamic banks in the world cannot give zero interest finance because the biggest issue here, central banks are controlling the interest rate. And if for example, the US federal raised the interest rate, all the countries' central banks and governors, they will increase the interest rate. And why do they do that? Because they don't want to have their fiat money of the country to be left over, and people go buy dollar because it has a better value. And that's a big issue, because you can see now what happened to Lebanon. The currency of Lebanon went down, Turkey as well, Yemen, Libya, and all other Bangladesh as well. So these are very critical issues where even Japan couldn't pay back because of the interest rate of the federal bank. So problem number 2.
Excuse me, Mr. Muhammad, could you put your presentation at full screen, please?
Oh yeah, sure. Thank you for giving me this note as well. So I think I don't want to make it bigger for a reason, because I want to just save some time, but I'm trying to maximize it. Yeah. So here, the second problem, a blockchain has proposed a very good solution where there's no one is controlling the supply and the demand, but it is done by algorithmic way, and decentralization has enabled people to have a specific limited supply, where this is a very good solution. But again, there is another problem came out because of the limited supply. The limited supply of the coins have given us an incompatible with Sharia compliance in Islamic region, because people fall under something called the gharar. And I'll explain gharar in a very fast way, where you have a limited supply of Bitcoin. There is only 21 million Bitcoins in the global world. And these Bitcoins, if you have a Bitcoin and it's valued, for example, $10,000, and you have $10,000 in cash, and you have a car that you want to buy, you would rather pay by cash, not by Bitcoin. And the reason why that's happening because of the rarity and the scarcity of Bitcoin, where people will always mentally think that this is a very rare thing, and it will go up, so people will not circulate the supply. So the problem number 3, actually, and again, in the problem number 2, there is a huge number of people who want to obtain this kind of currency, for example, in Lebanon today, because the Lebanese lira went down, but they can't because of 2 main reasons. Reason number 1, the mining devices are very expensive. I will show you here one example. What do I mean by mining devices? These devices are very expensive. Yes, so this is Google, and this is mining Bitcoin. So these mining devices, they call them rigs or farms, and they put them in a pools. So they are not easy to obtain and to gain. So the unbanked, the poor people, will never have access to these. So this is problem number 1. Problem number 2, even though the unbanked want to get the fiat and to have an account, they actually cannot buy it from the stock market, because each Bitcoin, even now, it's the lowest price within last 3 years, but it's about $20,000. And even if I want to buy fractions of it, like $10 or $20, I need to pay a lot more, around 20% more to get it, because actually people aren't banked, so they don't have access to the system, and the other part, it's not easy to have it. So what is our solution? What are we proposing here? We are proposing a new innovation system. Sorry, I lost my PowerPoint. Yeah. So we are proposing a new innovation system to have those unbanked having these concepts and coins by Sidra chain. So what is Sidra chain? Sidra chain uses an Islamic tokenomics. So there is unlimited supply, and anyone can mine it using his mobile in just a few clicks. We are looking within this innovation, the security level of the coin. Actually, Bitcoin uses something called so there is something called difficulty level. So if we write Bitcoin difficulty level, and this difficulty level is the level where it increases day by day to solve these equations to support the network. So they are using not million, not billion, not a trillion, but 36 zillion difficulty level of equations, which needs a lot of power to verify a transaction that is done in the blockchain. And it takes around 1 hour to complete a block, a transaction. So if I send you money right now, after an hour you will receive it. So our innovation, what does it do? Our difficulty level is not by billion, it's not by a trillion, it's not by zillion, and it's not even by thousands. It's only, you can see it here, it's at level 2. So we invented a new algorithm where we are using the same proof of work mechanism to create blocks in a very fast speed. And our security, Bitcoin is using 265 SHA-265. So we use double of that, which is SHA-512. So it means that our encryption level is multiplied by 2 comparing to a Bitcoin. So with this equation, we believe that we can create a very fairness entry level for people around the world to have and mine Sidra. So our vision to be the first Islamic decentralized choice for digital banking around the world before 2027. And our objectives and our missions are to serve the people with Islamic DeFi solutions. And what DeFi means, it means decentralized finance. So what that means, actually, it's not only Islamic, because it's any one of the 3 religions financial systems, which means even it is the same exact financial system that is by the Bible and in Jew, for Jews or for Christians. If you read the Bible, it follows the same concept. There is zero interest in that. So the second objective is to provide, to bank the unbanked globally. The third objective is to empower the nation with Islamic stable finance, to have a halal financing options, to provide Muslims with innovative tools like waqf, zakah, sadaqat, kafarat, tabarru'at, all of these different kind of innovative tools for Muslims globally around the world. So thousands of questions in your mind right now, how you're going to achieve it, how you're going to get the unbanked, how this is not going to work, a lot of things that I've heard previously when I present this paper. So basically, you can read more about this paper by going to www.sidrabank.com, and I want to present it over here. So this is the sidrabank.com, and you can go and read everything about this project. This is my doctorate research. So when you go to the white paper here under Sidra Bank, you can download this huge detailed document. It's about 20 pages. It's full with the concept and how we are going to do it. So basically, I heard that this idea cannot be happening more than 1,000 times during my past 6 years of research. Every time I present it, I hear that this is not going to happen. Guess what? Today, we are celebrating more than 1 million users globally. I want to show you something. This is our statistics. We reached 1.38 million users from everywhere in the world, and most of our customers are from the countries are unbanked. Nigeria, United States. So from Nigeria, we have 348,000, United States 160,000, Vietnam 134,000, Indonesia, China, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan.
البنك يمكن أن يتعامل مع دول مثل الولايات المتحدة.
Sorry, can you ممكن تعيد سؤالك؟
وإندونيسيا والصين، ومن قبل سنين طويلة هذه الدول تتعامل بهذه العملات.
نعم. نعم، احنا
نعتذر منك محمد، هذا ما قناة الترجمة دخل علينا عرض قاعد يترجم بالعربي. اعتذر منك سوينا له muted.
Yeah, it's okay. Thanks. And thank you for translating. Actually, I really admire your efforts, and this is something I would like to give you a hand on. So let's go back and continuing what you're doing. So I'm going to show you here a third-party traffic recognition system, which is called Cloudflare. They confirm our numbers, and this is actually I'm going to increase the screen size over here. So this is only the last 24 hours. So this is a report from third party. It's called Cloudflare. We use it for supporting our network from denial of services and different attacks from boots and other stuff. So only yesterday, only within 24 hours, we have 11 million requests. We have 240,000 different users, and the numbers confirm exactly our database numbers. So we have from Nigeria, Vietnam, India, Indonesia, United States, China, Bangladesh, Benin, and Pakistan, and the list goes on. If you go to YouTube and you just write Sidra Bank, so you will find thousands of videos, people globally talking about this idea, and everyone is promoting it. And you have here, you can see the views like 13,000 views, 5,000 views, 3,000 views, 2.5 views, 8,000 views, and the list goes on. I'm going to scroll very fast. You can do this yourself, and you will find a lot of videos. People are talking about this coin and this system everywhere in the world, and what we are going to do with these coins. So this
Mr. Muhammad, 2 minutes, please.
I'm finalizing my project. So what we are going to do with these coins, if I have the coins, what does it mean? It means that I have something that equals 0. So there is no any financial reward out of it, because actually this is not backed by anything, but it's backed by global efforts. So you swap these coins with different projects coins. So for example, this is where ISO 56000 is applied in a real way for the globe. So we're creating a platform called Continku, which means contribute and company. So for example, somebody from Nigeria, he have a great idea. He can post his idea and he writes, I want a designer, I want a developer, I want somebody in accounting and finance. The 1.3 million users globally, they will join and they will take specific tasks. And people who don't want to participate with their own efforts, they can swap their Sidra coin to this new project coin. And then guess what? It will be shared equally between the users based on their participation and risk acceptance on the project. So we are creating the new digital era of Silicon Valley online for people who have never been able to get access to funds in their entire life. We have a plan to fund 500 projects with different kind of support and level and legal support, financial support, crowdfunding, crowd marketing for those who have never been accessing the financial period at all. Thank you everyone for listening to this presentation about Sidra Bank. I would like to invite you to start also participating in this project by going to minesidra.com and registering and start mining today. It's free, it doesn't cost anything. We don't take any data, we don't take any anything from your computer. You can sign in, just click one time every 24 hours and you will get your 2 Sidra coins. Then you can use them in supporting other people projects. I hope that I explained it very well for you guys.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad. Very interesting topic. So now let's move on the next speaker. I will ask Mrs. Katrina Hedbeck from Sweden to present her work. But I will present before that Mrs. Katrina. So she is the CEO of and co-founder of the company Kaida Medical. She was nominated 2 times in 2 big events, Female Founder in Sweden and Nordic Women in Tech Awards, category Entrepreneur of the Year. And she wins 2 prizes in 20 and 22. She is the winner of the World Innovation Summit for Healthcare. And she is also in the category of clinical innovation. So go ahead, Katrina. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's not only me, it's basically the entire team. So I will present here. Thank you very much for having me and allowing me to speak how we have done our innovation journey. Okay. So we have joined it pretty structured and used a system from Stanford Biodesign model, which I will describe shortly. And then we have gotten loads of help, not the entire team and the startup ecosystem in Stockholm where we live. I will very shortly show you this source from Stanford Biodesign process. It's basically a structured approach on how to find the need, where we spent, me and my co-founders spent 8 months at the Children Oncology Clinic to identify their unmet needs. And we started by observing how they're doing, what they're doing, etc. And all of those observations we wrote down. And then we were structuring these into needs, if there were a need for something specific, or if it was just specific to that clinic. After that, several years after we did this, 2015 and 16, after that, me and my co-founder, Dr. Rebecca Bayhead, have been mentoring for other such programs, being in Cairo at the Children's Cancer Hospital.
العالميه الابتكار
Egypt 57357, and it's quite fascinating how many of these problems are the same regardless of where on the globe things are. But there are, of course, specific things to certain countries that are more in the DNA of the country, sort of thing. So it's very, very interesting actually to compare different clinics when it's sort of the same. But out of those needs that we found, we screened them and made them into concept and checked. And it's like process to check, is it patentable? Is it large market? Can you scale? Is it a line? Is it the same person who's supposed to pay for the product who's actually having to suffer with the problem? But this entire part of actually starting with a real unmet need that somebody needs to have has helped us tremendously. And it's also where we found the need for what we have solved at Tata Medical. But we have also used the entire path with end users and used workshops, and the entire part with alignment, market, and patents have been core all through. And then on top of that,
الابتكار.
Please go ahead, Katrina. It's the interpreter.
Yeah, okay. There is a huge need for collaboration. And when we look on how, and I will go to that at the end, that it's, if you're good at something, it's very good to collaborate because you will save time as well as money. And then I always have a huge thank you to Shada for the help we've gotten, not only in Stockholm, but also through EIT Health and the European Innovation Council. So we have managed to do all of those things together. And we've gotten a lot of help from mentors and people who have want to give back because they've gotten help. And I will show you where we found the need. This is sort of interesting. So this is one of the co-founders, Christopher, who's a medical doctor specializing in anesthesiology. And the children at different hospitals, most of them will need some IV, and kids being kids, no matter what you do, there is always a risk for an accident where the tube gets ripped out. And if it's chemo in the bag, it's really, really bad. If it's, well, that's toxic, but it could also be that it's expensive. And this is where we basically decided this is the need we're going to work with, because we went inside the hospitals to different wards and realized it's not just kids, it's elderly, it's people, people are operated and get some morphine. Some people even pull their own tubes. We also, the more we dug, we realized that it's not just that it gets fully dislodged, it's also that there are harmful forces, and eventually the vessel is not going to take it. And out of the 1.5 billion catheters that are used and 16 billion tubes, there is a 40% failure rate. And this is a huge thing because it's the most common invasive procedure at healthcare. And if you want to have home care or all of those things, if it's 40% failure rate at the hospitals, it's not really going to work that well at hospital. So with what we have done is that, basically you understood that patient injury takes a lot of time for the already busy nurse, and all of these accidents cost 72 billion euros in unnecessary healthcare consumption. So what we have done with our solution to this that we find disruptive in the entire IV landscape is Relink, that is advancing the standard of care in IV therapy. So when there are pulls on the tubes that would harm the vessel, it disconnects and you can then clean the parts and pull it together. So it's a breakaway connector, self-sealable valves. And to the left is state of the market today, that devices and procedures that are just securing the device stronger and stronger to the patient. And then the disruptive part, the innovation that we have developed to the right, is reducing the consequences of the dislodgement. And it's not by accident. We've started off from a need, observing it, and then pulled the solution to it. And I think one of the greatest thing with this is that it can have such a huge impact, save time for nurses as well as save patients from pain. And it's of course important that you have a patent if you want, otherwise you wouldn't get any money for the investment. And it's all about having funding to keep on doing your innovation. Some companies have revenue and they can build on that, but if you start with an idea, and especially in medtech, obviously it's important with all the regulatory work, the ISO and the CE, but you can do none of it if you don't have funding. We managed, thanks to the European Innovation Council, to get several grants that has helped us, and we are very grateful for the investors that have come on board. We are closing a round now, so if anybody are interested in adding money, we are having an investment round open. You can always reach out to me for that. Also, team is super important. And when we started from the beginning, from the Clinical Innovation Fellowship, you get matched for being coming from a multidisciplinary team, not only from different disciplines such as medicine, design, engineering, and management, but also from a personality point of view. And we have continued with that and tried to hire people from with different backgrounds, so complementing each other. And it's very interesting if we are talking in different meetings with external people or negotiations with other parties, sometimes we come out with different views on what was actually happening in the meeting. And when we then prepare for the follow-up, we have a very huge background moving forward. So it has actually proven very successful to us. So obviously having a good need that with a scalable market and having a product that solves it, but team and funding is amazing, and having it, to be able to create an impact. We've gotten, as I said before, huge help from a lot of clinics around Sweden and innovation centers, as well as help with commercial and legal and business partners and hospitals. We are set up for several clinical trials with key opinion leaders. And I know there are some really amazing hospital chains in the Middle East that we would love to have clinical trials or collaboration, because we do believe that the collaboration is actually the foundation to be able to make an impact in innovation. Our product is designed as a platform technology. I'm jumping here for the numbers, but some of those are the applications are growing with 20% CAGR. This is, I will talk more about this one tomorrow, about how you can have, it was based from the Berkeley Open Innovation. I'm jumping a little bit because I want to save time. I realize that we are running out. So our strength is the innovative process where we can identify the clinical needs and we can draw a solution to it. So we have the need, drawing a solution to it, and then we have a structured approach that where we implement the business as such. But then eventually we don't necessarily want to do production and sale. We would like to collaborate with that because our core is the innovative and prove the market, whereas obviously with the first product you need to go further. But why we want to innovate and collaborate with other partners is because of here, which I find quite interesting. So there is a value gap from when you have the innovation and you have the R&D and the thinking, because I mean, if you come up with one idea, it's easier to come up with the second, and the brain is a muscle, and the more you work and you have your structure and system and you want to, you know, copy it and do it again and again, if we then build up a production and then build up a huge sales force, eventually, you know, you will be away from that. And we really love what we're doing, so we would like to find partners who can do the manufacturing and sales and distribution. And the value for them is that this is just a point, whereas they can have a higher price realization and increase in market share and add into new markets. So if they would say 100% or 100 million euro from the beginning, if you then add, then you have one of those industries that have a CAGR of 20%, you have a momentum growth. But if you then can have a delta price and a market share increase and slightly more with the market, you're up like 500 to 600 in a few years. So I think, well, it was basically my point to prove that collaboration is smarter. And while somebody else is doing that and we get part of that, we could build on new revenue streams with new products and make even more impact. So it's a high potential with a high margin, and lowering the risk by those things, and then have a professional execution. That's what we think is a very good tools. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Katerina. A very interesting presentation and very interesting innovation product. Now we will move to my topic. Okay, I will present you the growing up talented persons. So I will share my screen. Do you see the screen? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I present myself. So Dr. Ines Zidi from University of Tunis Al Manal. I'm specialized in clinical applied cellular and molecular immunology.
Dr. Ines, would you mind to enlarge the screen?
هذا الماكسيموم.
Maximize it?
هذا الماكسيموم full screen.
No, in the corner you can maximize it, because now it's not maximum. Okay. Yes, now. Yes.
Now it's okay?
Yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
So I has got 2 international awards for my exceptional scientific career at the Francophone University Agency Prize in Science and Technology, and also another prize from Canada in excellence in health applied research. So now I'm a consultant in innovation management, and I'm also a member of the Regional Commission of the Economic and Scientific Experts of the Maghreb, which means the north of Africa. So my topic will be not on biology, but will be focused on the talents. So growing up talented, so the future of innovation is more than important than ever. So incremental innovation are replaced by disruptive innovation, based on the uncertainty of economy, crises, circumstances associated to this world. Finding talented persons with new mindsets to conduct these new innovations is needed. So the excellence is searched to build smart cities and competitive countries. The knowledge in this decade, the economy was built based on knowledge and evolved to creative economy, popular from 2000s, because creativity is the best proxy for knowledge, as said by Florida. In 2012, Lubart introduced a new term, the Homo creativus. That is the natural evolution of Homo sapiens, who is wise and knowledgeable. But Homo creativus has the ability to think in original and adaptive ways. Yes, the creative economy will need dynamic capability and also other innovative assets. Actually, reshaping the future of innovation and detecting new solutions, new opportunities with new added values, we need talented innovators. So the talent is a fuzzy term with a complex definition. Indeed, the concept of a human capital, which was introduced in 1961 by Schultz, fostering the economic growth based on knowledge and having specific aim, evolved to give place to talent capital. And actually, the society needs such sparks of talent innovators to face the complexity and the global changes. And as said by Van Pater, the simplistic days of brainstorming as innovation are long gone. So the changing world is ready for a new era of talent-centered world that will socialize, okay, but will also solve problems, offering new outputs based on their distinguished capabilities. To face complexity, there is rising awareness that building talents will be the fuel of transformative thinking and the creation of new plans and new solution scenarios. So I think that the creation of talents is based on a dynamic talent achievement model, a holistic approach based on 5 pillars. So the individual, the microsystem, mesosystem, exosystem, and the macro system. So the first pillar is evidently, you hear me? The first pillar is evidently the individuals themselves. They are smart, okay, with a high level of knowledge and high know-how potential built by different thinking processes based on widening, connecting, and also reversing. These people are intrinsically motivated. They have a great potential of creative thinking and a great potential of metacognition with self-regulation and and other skills in self-evaluation. These individuals are highly impacted by the microsystem. Indeed, the home parenting style will modulate and shape the talent development by stimulating the creativity and opening the way for autonomy, self-confidence. Additionally, schooling style and high-quality education will impact talent development. So we have here first the creative learning with the extensive practice, and also the creative teaching that have to be active, experiential, and immersive. This will bring enjoyment and also motivation and also reflection needed to captivate the learner and feed the its curiosity and intelligence. In the model of building talents, interacting with peers is very important through high networking and high exchange process. The ecosystem is evidently important for talent creation. Before in the era of Marshall, the industries were clustered in urban agglomeration by speciality in a specific area. Now the ecosystem changed and has evolved and has been transformed to bridge different specialties and is opened to great knowledge spillover inside a quadruple here, as you see here, helix clusters associating government, academia, industry, and also civil society. Many creativity spaces were built also to feed the creative potential of talents according to talent-centered strategy. In the same way, superstar cities are created to allow talents upscaling that will maintain their satisfaction and will retain them and avoid the talented brain drain. Finally, the macro system is also needed for algorithm of building talents. It is based on social economic status, ethnicity, identity, and also shared values. So talent can be a natural gift, okay? But interestingly, we can build also talents. The equation is simple, with many chances, okay? But shaping the future will need such talents to face the continuous change of the world. So the future of innovation depends not only from technical challenges, but also non-technical challenges for brilliant to bring brilliant and sustainable solutions. Supporting this approach will be crucial, not only for competitiveness, but also to offer more symbiotic and fine, but also deep solution, improving the course of humanity and the well-being. That's all for my topic. So now we are going to jump straight into question and answer. So we will ask some questions. Sorry, I will. Okay, so the camera are turned. Okay, so let's be more interactive. Maybe I will ask some question. I will check. No question here. I will ask some question, and after I will make some sum up. I summarize. Okay. So, Katrina, you have a question? I will ask you a question, maybe. Okay. do you think that this patient-oriented product will be adopted all over the world?
Yeah.
Do you plan to make such scale-up plans?
Yeah, we do want. We also spent a lot of time to make sure that it's scalable at low cost. So one should be able to sell it to Bangladesh and regardless of. And I think it's really important to do so, and also to have a diverse team and ask people from different countries how they work. Because if you think home care, for instance, how is a home care seen in Saudi Arabia or in China and India? It's slightly different. And also in Sweden, where I come from, a lot of people live more alone, or you don't have huge families who take care of you. So I think when you look on a solution that you want to have provided worldwide, you have to look on how things are done.
Okay, so you talked about the openness of your experience. What is your experience outside the European Union? What are the practices you
we have hired people from. I personally am just curious how things are. So I think I'm going with curiosity as an advantage there. I have never lived outside of Europe, only traveled, but we have hired people from Pakistan and India and China, and I think collaboration is good. I think, we can always grow and improve all over those things. I really liked your presentation, by the way.
I think that your product will be adopted. So, Mr. Mohammed El-Jafiri, I suppose that you studied the market opportunities. Can you tell us about that, and can you discuss the potential adoption of your service by users?
Yes, sure. Actually, we are targeting people who haven't been accessing financial services at all. Those people are unbanked. Their average income are below $500 monthly. They can't have access to loans, to crowdfunding, to different kind of payments instruments, because it's very hard in their region to get these kind of things. So we are talking about a niche virgin market. This market haven't been exposed to any different solutions that fit them. So if we enable innovation management for them, and we gave them the chance to innovate, we are giving them the chance to create their own solutions, which means by that we have opportunity to bring out from this region the next top 500 companies, potential unicorns, and these people might have a different kind of a global exposure for their services, for their products, for their efforts that they are trying to spare to the market.
Okay, so you think that your business model is low risky and is stable in the market?
It has risks such as any business, but we are lowering our risk at the minimum acceptable risk rate, because actually we are trying to adapt a methodology where they will not be able to get the fund and just leave, and the investors then will be worried. But we make sure that they achieve their milestones based on the agreement between them and their sponsors as well. So we are depending on the crowd, people who have invested their own coins, their own efforts in these projects will be the auditors, will be the people who will follow up with these communities, because we are enabling a crowd based model where people and teams can collaborate globally from different regions and can work together in a different projects.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Owen, you raised your hand for a question, please.
Dr. Hayat Umri also has her hand raised, so if this her first.
That's okay. That's okay. I will ask you maybe a question about the standards, the concept of standards. Do you think that following standards will drive innovation in one way, and contrarily will reduce the innovation, the frugal innovation or the disruptive innovation? What do you think about that?
I think it's a very sensible question. So if we look at tonight, this session, the presentations, Mohammed knows the ISO standards, and I can see how the ISO standards helped him to produce his work. Katerina's exposition of the process that they used is an example of someone applying a systematic approach to innovation. And so the ISO standards are how to apply an innovation management system within an organization. Your example, Inez, was beyond the organizations, across the ecosystem, across the society. So you're talking about different scales. So one of the good things about the standards for innovation management is they never tell you how to solve the problem. They tell you what to do. It's like if you want to climb Mount Everest, one, you need a checklist to bring a rope and some boots and learn to climb. But it doesn't tell you how to learn to climb. Yeah. So as well as a checklist, you need a guide, someone who's been there before, a Sherpa. And then you need some tools to use, like picks and ropes.
Yeah. So, to simplify the process of management, yes.
Yes, yeah. And to make it easier for people globally to access the best practice and to take the mystery out of it, so that you don't have a consultant telling you, I am very clever. I have a beard, I am very clever. You know, Mohammed, we are both very clever and we both have beards, but you don't need me to come and tell you how to do innovation. The standard can act as your guide. So that's really, really helpful.
Okay, Dr. Hanadi, do you have a question? Other questions, maybe?
No, we will give time for Dr. Hayat Umarishi raising the hand, and we needing, I think it's in the Europe, still there are a good time, but here in our timing, it's now deep sleeping time.
Yeah. So are there any questions, more other questions?
Yes.
We will,
yes.
The last question for Dana.
Yes, last question for Dana, please. Dana, everybody want to wrap up and sleep?
Yes. Okay.
I'm tired.
A short question, Dana, please.
It's
not a question.
And I'm answering email, and I'm answering people. I'm preparing VIP for tomorrow. They keep asking me. Okay, Dana, try to summarize and closing out. I'm more than welcome to see you tomorrow.
Sure. First of all, I really enjoyed this session. Like, we just found it like in a great harmony. First of all, we're talking about the standard, and then we found out real business models who already been implement the standards for the last two sessions, and then we finish it out with the improving the talent. So I really like the harmony that we see in this topic. So my contribution for the last topic is like the Arab community is starting to know and realize the topics and the elements of the innovation. The whole organization are like to change, but it takes slowly, because the main infrastructure and the main laws and regulation in such of our countries and the elements of the empowerment is still need a lot of improvement and work. So this is it. We need to focus and implement on all the organization and start by the infrastructure, which is the laws and regulations and the host governments as the real success story of Qatar, that they start focusing on the innovation aspects on the ministries. So the main infrastructure for improving our Arab communities is to start by the ministries and the government role. Thank you so much for
Thank you, Dana.
session.
Thank you.
I highly appreciate it. Thank you.